Yeah, so you mentioned Xbox, and they have games coming up that but are also coming out for other platforms now, as we're learning. Where Master Chief is going over to PlayStation, Fable announced PlayStation, Forza. So you're right in that Microsoft is spreading out quite a bit in terms of their releases and not looking
Mhm.
to just funnel people into their specific console or necessarily their ecosystem. But they made headlines at the end of last year when a different system outsold them. And it was an entire write up for many different places because this little cube that apparently had been around since 2023 or something. I had no history at all about this thing. I've never really seen it until then, and somehow it breaks onto the scene. It's like the next system. I have to look up what it was again. What it was
The
called
NEX
exactly.
Playground, yeah.
Thank you. NEX Playground. That's how in tune I am with this thing. The NEX Playground, the next playground. And I look into it and it's a little cube that you get. It's kind of a connector eye toy, really.
Mhm.
And a lot of it's subscription based to where you subscribe to it and you get a bunch of what are more mainstream or look kind of like cell phone crossover style games that the family can sit down and play.
Yeah, totally subscription based. Actually, I was doing some so I do, weekly reporting and all this stuff for all the clients and like, hey, here's what's going on. So I'm digging through the data and I see this like all other segment in console this one week really show this big change week on week. And I'm like, oh man, the data's busted. Something broke. So I start digging in, trying to figure out what broke. And I'm like, why is this? Oh, plug and play. All right, what's going on? Then this one line item showed up for NEX Playground, had this massive increase. And I'm like, what the hell is this thing? I have never heard of it. And I'm in this stuff all the time and dig it in. And of course, find out, yeah, it's been around for a while. Got picked up on TikTok, from my understanding. Got picked up by some retail channels. They started throwing this thing up on end caps and really pushing for it at retail, particularly Target. And it started getting some real serious momentum, so much so that they sold out. They were shipping things air from the manufacturing places, which, as you know, is really expensive to do. Trying to bring in as many units as they could, but it stayed sold out through the December window. eBay prices went through the roof for a little bit, and we'll have to see what happens when it comes back in stock. But I think what it really shows is that there is an audience and an appetite for family-friendly gaming content. And you know what? The console industry, with the exception of Nintendo, has basically walked away from that market for some time, and it really shows that the appetite is still there.
It's priced a bit better. I mean, it's 250, and I guess the idea of you buy that, you can subscribe for some flat rate, and then you have a bunch of games. Is probably interesting to a family that's like, I got to buy this. I mean, $650 Xbox or $550 PlayStation or $450 to $500 Switch 2, and then you get the games on top of it. You get the online subscription on top of that. Controllers, whereas this NEX Playground, it can track two people at once apparently, and it very much sounds like the Kinect. So I wonder if Microsoft saw that
Yeah.
and said, "Oh, you got to be kidding me, really?" But that's something I've thought about. The idea that one of these three now console manufacturers would think about doing some sort of offshoot system like that's not necessarily connected directly, like Nintendo. They typically would have a cheaper device on the market, like a Switch Lite. They still have it, but for how much longer? Would they think
Right.
about, well, we're going to end up with a 450, maybe if prices go up a $500 just baseline price for our system, is there room for some $250 family oriented device like the NEX Playground?
I think there absolutely is, and I think what we saw on the holiday shows that. I mean, and even if you look at the user experience on console now, like for people that are enthusiasts, right, that are watching this, like, this, what are you talking about? It's not hard to get into a console ecosystem. If you're picking up a PlayStation for the very first time, trying to navigate the setup, the account creation, the subscriptions, it is a lot to take in for a potential new user, casual user, someone who just wants to play a game. It's not as easy as it used to be when you could just go buy an N64 and you plug the cart in, right? And
Yep.
that's a really big barrier for a lot of people. And I think the NEX Playground shows again, like, hey, I can buy something, put it under the tree, we can hook it up, and then just start having fun. Great. Like, I think there's a lot of opportunity there that we've kind of walked away from as an industry for a bit.
Yeah, here's a fun test for any of the viewers right now. You can say it down in the comments. How many times, we'll even say in the last year or two, has a relative or a friend or whoever been had to call or message you about setting up a system or something, where they're having a hard time because they just got this for Christmas, or they're thinking about getting something for Christmas, but they're not sure what works with what. It it happens to me all the time. Like these systems have gotten more complicated than ever now. So I picture that NEX Playground, that simplified setup, but with Nintendo characters and Mario and stuff running around it. And I just think, man, that's a several million unit seller probably throughout a year.
It could be if they could work out the numbers on it and have it not directly compete with this. I mean,
Yeah.
it gets so complicated, right? But yeah, I mean, as an industry, the console market is leaning more affluent. It's leaning older over time. I've posted some numbers people get mad about on social about that. But it's a fact. The console audience is aging and getting more affluent because it's pricing out younger and less affluent people because of that upfront purchase price. It's a big number to try to meet when people's housing, insurance, food costs are all continuing to rise really quickly. So having another alternative for people other than free to play stuff on mobile would be great for keeping people in a console ecosystem and then helping them maybe, graduate to a more complex or a more expensive device over time. It's just, I don't know, kind of simple math that we're not doing. So
Yeah, I kind of miss that cheap handheld that Nintendo would randomly put out, or even Sony when they had their PSP rolling alongside their super premium PlayStation 3, and that PSP started getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and it was like, oh, okay, this isn't too bad to pick one of those up and just kind of have on a whim. But
yeah,
it's the impulse buy is kind of gone almost. It feels like for some of these consoles.
absolutely gone. I mean, your impulse buy now is a $20 or $50 gift card for Fortnite. Your impulse buy isn't like, oh, Vita's $200. Oh, I'll give it a whirl. Like, no, it's like now you have to plan the purchase, or most people have to plan the purchase. They have to like save up, or how am I gonna put this on a credit card, like for a $600 or $700 box? Like, what are we doing?
I saw the stat. I think you're mentioning the 53% of U.S. video game hardware buyers in Q4 25 had a household income of $100,000 or more, and that's a record high, up from 40% in Q1 22.
Yeah, and some people are saying like, oh, sure, but there's more 100K households now. Like, well, there are a few more 100K households, but not to account for that big of a gap in just a 4 calendar year window. And then people say like, oh, well, 100K isn't a lot. 100K is a lot for a huge chunk of the population in terms of household income. It is not normal for a household income to be 100K. Like, so, we're making it harder and harder for people to play in these ecosystems and to buy these devices. Now, like if you look at what Microsoft's doing, they're trying to attack that by saying you could play anything anywhere. Like you can do it on a cloud stream, you can do it on a different device that you have, you can do it on a PC. PlayStation's doing some of that with a portal, trying to help people do, and their cloud service. Nintendo's still keeping people on the Switch too. But, we have to do something to address this problem of the console ecosystems in particular becoming so expensive and pricing people out, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, because my concern would be that the audience, the user base for the consoles starts shrinking more and more as we go. Like in terms of just raw numbers of people, how many people have a console now versus how many people are just streaming through their web browser or using Amazon Fire Stick or even just playing on mobile phones, leaving the console space, not because they necessarily want to, but just because they're sort of forced out, or they're playing a PS4 in 2030 or something because that's what they have,
or playing Fortnite on their banger laptop because it's good enough, and they don't have the money to spend and they don't want to worry about it. I can just fire this up and it works okay, and that's good enough. And I think that's what we're up against right now in terms of where this market's going to end up going.